to our final Google Hangout. We're thrilled to welcome and celebrate the class of 2020. Tonight's Hangout will focus on Welcome Week, student life, and all things study away. If you have any questions while joining, feel free to use your Google Plus account. Click on the top right corner of your screen and click the box with the white squares on and click the yellow question and answer icon. You can type your questions in the text box below. You can also tweet your questions using a hashtag NYU Hangout or tag @MeetNYU in your tweet. If you have any questions about financial aid or admissions, please call our admissions office directly and speak one-on-one with an admissions counselor. If you can't stay with us for the full hour, the video from tonight's Hangout will also be available on the Meet NYU YouTube channel later this evening. So we're now going to take a chance to introduce ourselves. My name is Zach Harrell, and I work in the Student Resource Center as the Associate Director. I work with our class activity boards and also oversee Welcome Week.
Hi everyone, I'm Christine. I am currently a junior at the College of Nursing, and I'm a Welcome Week captain.
Hi everyone, I'm Olivia. I'm a junior in Gallatin, concentrating in film, TV, and stage production, and I'm from Northbridge, Massachusetts, and I'm a Welcome Week captain and an admissions ambassador.
Hi everyone, I'm Gregory. I'm a senior in the Global Liberal Studies program, concentrating in arts and literatures. I'm from Raleigh, North Carolina, and I am an RA, an ambassador, and I spent my whole junior year abroad in Paris, France.
Awesome. So like we said, we're going to be answering questions throughout, but we'll first start with just a general question with how was your transition to NYU? Feel free to, anyone can answer the question.
I can start. I come from North Carolina. I come from Raleigh, which is a much smaller area than New York, so it was definitely an adjustment for me. But being on NYU's campus really allowed me to get involved with people with similar interests, find a community immediately in the first couple of weeks, and really ease that transition from kind of like a more rural area into a more urban area. So definitely a shock at first, but the transition was definitely made smoother by being part of the NYU community.
I would agree with that. I'm from a really small town in Massachusetts, but I knew I wanted to be in New York, so I jumped right in and was like, I'm gonna learn how to take the subway on the first day, and I got lost. But that was actually a really great learning experience and one of my fondest memories during my first few weeks at NYU. So it was definitely a transition, but I had so much fun exploring the city and learning what it means to live in New York. So it was a great transition for me. I had a lot of fun.
I think same here. I come from New Jersey, which is very close to New York, so I think the transition of coming into the city, I knew how everything was gonna be so I was like, okay, I'm used to this, but just the fact that I'm actually living here was different. And the transition helped when I was started joining more clubs on campus, and then I got to see what the university was about and feel more comfortable in the area.
Awesome. Why don't we continue with talking a little bit about transition? So what kind of events do we take part in as freshman orientation?
Oh my gosh, Welcome Week! Okay, so for any of you who don't know what Welcome Week is, it's a week-long series of programs that happens the week before fall classes start. So you move in on Sunday, and then Welcome Week will take place the entire following week, and then you start classes. So we have hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of events, and Christine and I help Zach to run some of them, and they're the best. But we have events that kind of focus on getting you acclimated to NYU, and then events that kind of get you out to the city. So during my first Welcome Week, I say first Welcome Week because I'm a captain, but during Welcome Week, I went on this program where we walked down through Chinatown and then across the Brooklyn Bridge, and then we ate this really famous pizza place. And we ate in Brooklyn Bridge Park. So that got us used to a bunch of different areas of the city. We got to go to Brooklyn. We got free pizza. There's always free food during Welcome Week. That's one of the best parts. Yeah. So I did that, but I also there was this really great event called Dude, Where's My Class, where an older student would kind of show you around the campus because you don't want to get lost on your first day of classes. So they would show you each building and this is where you need to go for class, and that was probably the most helpful thing I did during Welcome Week because I didn't get lost on my way to class on my first day and fooled myself. It was great.
And now you lead those.
Yes, and now I lead those sessions.
Awesome. What about y'all?
I thought it was really cool that we had events where you kind of get to meet people with other interests as well. So this is the 1 week where you get to step away from your school and meet other people from like different majors, different hometowns, and like you just meet them randomly online, and it's awesome. But yeah, so we have like fan clubs, which is like we pick a special interest, and everyone who has that same interest as you like kind of goes, and you get to mingle with them, which is awesome. And then also like if you're trying to get acclimated with your school, we have like, I think each school has their own orientation from my understanding, because I know the College of Nursing does, and so you get to meet people within that major as well.
One of the big things for me is the events that go on that are just kind of like fun events for you to meet other students and other people, especially in other halls, because a lot of them are focused in your residence hall, but then a lot of them are also campus-wide. A big one for me is every year there's the acapella showcase, which happens. Acapella is a huge part of the community. I'm actually in NYU's original all-male acapella group here, Mass Transit, so that's huge for us to kind of like promote the group and also the other groups, and you can go and see them all at the same time. There's a magic show every year that you can be a part of. There's like a casino night every year that you can be part of. So it's all these like kind of like fun hangout events so you can meet other residents who have similar interests as well. So that really struck a chord with me.
Yeah, definitely. Just in general, our orientation events and Welcome Week are kind of two separate things. So each of, like Christine mentioned, each school will have their orientation, which takes place at the same time as Welcome Week, and then Welcome Week kind of brings everyone together. So brings all of the residents and the commuters and people from liberal studies with nursing. So like I said, there's going to be about 500 programs. You'll get one of these in the mail very soon, going over our theme and just important dates. But if anyone else has any specific questions, we'll be happy to answer those about Welcome Week. So we're going to transition a little bit. The next question is about study away, and all three of you, I believe, have studied away. So do I have to study away if I don't want to yet? If I don't immediately, when and how will I be able to do it later?
Is this separate from the liberal studies core?
Well, we can probably
Talk about both, maybe.
Okay.
Yeah.
So the short answer, if you are a student accepted to New York's New York campus, then no, you do not immediately have to study abroad. You actually don't have to study abroad unless it is a requirement for your major. So for example, I'm a global liberal studies student, which requires me to spend my entire third year abroad. So to get the degree, I would have had to and did study abroad. But if it is not something that you're interested in and you just want to spend all 4 years in New York and your program does not require you to, you don't have to. We like to encourage study abroad. We think it's a central part of being an NYU student, but by no means will you be forced to, unless, like I said, it was a requirement of your program.
And as far as studying abroad now versus later, that's not something you have to decide right when you come to NYU. The application for studying abroad is due in the previous semester. So if your sophomore year, you decide you want to study abroad your junior year, just apply and you're good to go. Now we're back.
Sorry. Do any of you want to talk a little bit about your study abroad, study away experience, and kind of how it was for you?
Yeah, I can start. So like I said, I had kind of a unique experience in the sense that my major requires me to be there for a full year in the same site. So I was in Paris. I had probably the most fun time of my life. It really was an amazing experience. I got to not only study at NYU's campus, but also study at 2 local universities in Paris. So I was in the French track program, took all my classes in French. I also got to work. So I did, as part of my major, an internship at UNESCO at the cultural side of the UN, which was fantastic. And I loved it so much that I actually stayed over the summer as well. So I spent a full calendar year abroad and worked at a publishing house in Paris. So I really kind of got the academic side of it and the professional side of it. Really had an amazing time. I got to travel a lot because Paris is so central in Europe. And a lot of my friends, especially those in global liberal studies, were currently, at the time that I was abroad, were also studying abroad at other sites. So I always had kind of like friends I could stay with in like other cities that I was visiting. But it really allowed me to kind of compare how a culture and how a language shapes the way you learn the classes that you learn, comparing New York and Paris. And I found that both of them helped me tremendously in figuring out what I wanted to do and how I wanted to move forward with my academic career. So really valuable experience for me.
Awesome.
I went to London and I was there last spring, so a year ago. Pretty much every day I'll think to myself, what was I doing in London a year ago? And then it was something great and then I cry about it. But I had a great time. So since I'm in Gallatin, I have a lot of options for study abroad and for what classes I want to take. And I ended up taking this amazing class called Modern Drama and Performance, where we saw a play every single week, sometimes two. So they were small local shows, giant musicals on the West End, and like everything in between. And we got to see all of these shows and then discuss them, and it was amazing. And I rushed shows with my friends as well, so I got to see like 30 plays while I was there. And it was incredible, and it really helped shape my concentration. So I study a mix of film and theater, and I was tending more toward film, and it really ignited this passion in theater and set design for me. So it was really formative. I got to travel a lot as well, and I actually made two really great friends who were studying in London with me, who are from NYU Abu Dhabi, and now they're doing their study abroad here in New York, so I get to see them again. So that's really nice. It really feels like a global network university. Like, oh yeah, my friends from Abu Dhabi who I met in New York are originally from Italy and India. Yeah, they're here now. So I had a great time as well, and I miss it every day.
I was gonna move on,
Yeah,
but maybe
no.
you can answer this.
Yeah.
So the next question is continuing about study away, but how do I get my student visa? And then the next question about study away is how do we apply for scholarships to study abroad? So if any of you know anything about either of those topics.
I know a little bit about visas.
Yeah.
Okay, well, it kind of depends. If you mean your visa, if you're an international student and you mean your visa to study in New York, then you can go through our Office of Global Services, and they can help you get started on the process of getting your I-9, which is what you're going to need to study here. As far as visas, if you're an NYU student to study away in another country, that depends on the country. But when you apply to study abroad and if you're offered admission to that site, they'll help you through the process. But it sounds like you're probably talking about getting your visa to come here. So contact our Office of Global Services and they can help get the ball rolling.
And I would just add on for that, there is a mailing as well as an email that you're going to get throughout the summer called Next Stop NYU. If you go to www.nyu.edu/nextstop, it's a great tool for you throughout the summer. You'll get constant mailings about checklist of things to do. For international students, the Office of Global Services actually sends out a separate mailing regarding all of the paperwork and kind of the requirements that you'll need in order to study here before you get here in August. But if you are talking about study away, there's a lot of great info sessions that are specifically for international students.
In terms of scholarships, I know a little bit about it. I'm not fully versed. I know that they range from site to site. So like when I went to study in Paris, we received an email from the Office of Global Services saying, here are possible scholarships for you for those interested in studying abroad. Some of them were academic scholarships, some of them were like work scholarships. So it was like you would get paid back the amount that you were supposed to get paid if you had like a work study job at NYU New York, and obviously you wouldn't be able to work it because you were studying abroad. You could get kind of a grant that would pay you the amount you would have been paid, so you're not losing that compensation. Those are site specific. I know the compensation one is school wide, but like Paris had a couple for like if you had like a specific focus of study that you were like qualified for that scholarship. That was really specific to that site. But no matter which site you're interested in, that info will come out as you are applying to go to that abroad site.
And just to kind of bring it back to Welcome Week too, there are some great study abroad info sessions during Welcome Week, as well as if you're not really thinking about it, then you can attend an info session throughout the year, visit the website, a lot of the information regarding scholarships, site details, what classes, what majors, what programs are able to study where. It's a pretty comprehensive website.
Oh, just one final thing to note, your financial aid package will stay the same when you study away, so you don't have to worry about your scholarships changing. You only would need to worry about pursuing additional scholarships.
So we're going to transition a little bit about student life. So what do you love most about living and studying in New York City?
I think it's like a different college experience, and like that's what I value most about it, because going to school in New York City is so different than going to school on just a normal campus where it's like kind of gated from the rest of the town. And so like when you're in the city and you're studying here, you have the opportunity to go eat at these cool restaurants and explore like these cool museums and everything. So you get the chance to like be a real human being, but also be a student, you know?
Yeah, going off the museums thing, I think that's a huge selling point. There are so many cultural like exhibits. There's so many museums that are available to students, and with your NYU ID, most of them in the city that are like well known are accessible and free to NYU students. So like I would go to the Met several times a month my freshman year because it was an easy train ride up. My friends and I would go, and sometimes it was for school and sometimes it wasn't, but it was accessible to us. I currently live in Chinatown, but I walk up through like Little Italy and Soho, and there's like a couple like local museums there that I can access, which is really, really nice. I think for me, what's kind of great about the community aspect of NYU is really finding kind of like smaller communities within the larger NYU campus. So being part of an a cappella group, those are like my best friends. I work with Olivia at the Ambassadors, and those are also a separate group of friends of mine. I'm an RA, so I have like that community where I work as well. So I have these like three major communities along with my program of study. But they're all interconnected because we're part of NYU, but they have their own identity. And I think that's really special and unique to NYU's kind of mission as a global network university, but also of being in and of the city.
Awesome. Good. So how do I find more information about getting involved with clubs on campus?
Club Fest.
Club Fest. First week of school.
Yes. See, we all know about it.
Yeah.
Widespread. So Club Fest takes place the first week of classes, and it is basically every club on campus will set up a table in a giant room, and you can go around to all the clubs and sign up for all the ones you're interested in or learn more about them. So that is like the best way to find out about all the clubs on campus. You can also go to Kimmel's, the 7th floor is the Center for Student Activities, Leadership, and Service. So they run all of the clubs. So if you miss Club Fest, but you're interested in a club, you want to join, you want to learn more about it, you want to learn about starting your own club, you can do all that right in Kimmel.
I would also say the Welcome Week events are a really good way to just kind of see what is available to you. So for example, I hate to keep bringing it back to this, but the a cappella showcase, for example, somebody who did not know that they were interested in being part of an a cappella community, they might go to the show and then see it and be like, wow, actually I'm really interested in doing something like that. And like you could be a beatboxer, or you could be kind of like helping with choreography for some of the groups or whatever it might be. And so going out on a limb and like trying these different events and going to these different like set up things that are happening on campus, I think is a way at least to kind of see what is available to you. And even if it's not, oh, well, I'm not interested in a cappella, but I play like trombone and there's a jazz band, an NYU jazz band, that you could go and like find out more about that because you saw more of the music groups perform. So kind of like connecting the dots between different things on campus.
Yeah, I mean, I would going off of Welcome Week. So a lot of the bigger groups, Washington Square News or Program Board or the class activity boards do hold information sessions during Welcome Week. Those are kind of separate from Club Fest, but they're also at Club Fest. So if you're interested in kind of hitting the ground running and getting involved, you can either do that. A lot of students also get involved with either the residence hall or the commuter student council or with their schools. So kind of figuring out what your niche is, what you want to get involved in, maybe even trying a few things is kind of the general advice that we give. I know students who go to Club Fest and sign up for like 30 different listservs and then decide maybe a few weeks later that which one's actually right. Yeah, which one's right for you.
Also, if you're interested in Greek life, that's also Club Fest is definitely a place that they'll be set up. They'll be talking about their fraternity, their sorority, and like what their mission is and what they like to accomplish throughout the year. And that's really a good way for you to get introduced to the Greek life on campus at NYU, because it's definitely here and definitely part of like the NYU image, but it is growing exponentially as well. So it's definitely something that's picking up steam.
Awesome. So the next question is, I've heard that there is an additional welcome week sort of thing for Tandon students. Is this true? If yes, why is that so?
So if any of you don't know, Tandon is our School of Engineering. Their campus is in Brooklyn, so like a 15-minute train ride max. But I don't know, is there an additional thing? There are additional events that take place on the engineering campus. It's not a separate welcome week. It's just that we try to blend the Manhattan and Brooklyn campuses by having some of our events there. So like last year we had this really cool event called the Brooklyn Bash. That was in Brooklyn, obviously on the engineering campus, and that was like really cool. We had this like 90s cover band come in, and we had like all these games. It was really fun. So it's not a separate welcome week. It's all one welcome week, but some of the events take place in the Brooklyn campus and some take place in Manhattan.
And I would go off of that saying that it's not a separate welcome week, it's a separate orientation. So similar to nursing in Gallatin, every school has an orientation. They vary in sort of style or what they are. I think because Tandon is in Brooklyn, there are a lot of events that happen to really help acclimate people to the area. But we also do events, like Olivia said, like the Brooklyn Bash or walking tours at that space. But all Tandon students, all incoming first-year transfer students are all welcome at any welcome week event. So we also sometimes give Metro cards for students to come over to the square, or for students at the square to come over to our events at Tandon. So every event is open for everyone unless they're closed for your specific school. So every school will have a separate schedule, which will come out in August. So there was a question here of when does the schedule come out? So the welcome week schedule comes out in early August. You'll actually get access to an app. We have an app that is built every year, and you'll be able to see your school orientation as well as your welcome week schedule. There will be a lot of teasers of big events. So we do like drag bingo, the a cappella show, a big dance. All of that will be throughout the summer on all of our various social media pages. We do contests every day. You can win gift cards, free textbooks for the fall. So definitely follow those pages if you're very eager to get some of the details of events, but you'll get the full schedule, download access in early August. So yeah, so let's transition. So there's some questions about housing. I know we have an RA in the house, but this is actually related to living off campus versus on campus, and I know some of you all live off, so this will be great. So students who live off campus, do they have the same resources and opportunities as those living on campus?
Oh yeah. So we have an office of off campus. What's it called? Like an off campus housing. Yeah, office. So we have like a place that compiles all the resources for off campus living. So when I was looking for my apartment, because I was in an apartment this year, when I was looking for my apartment, I went on their website and they have a list of like vetted like apartment hunting websites that you can go through. They also host like a board where you can post like, I'm looking for a roommate, things like that. So they have resources for you to transition to living off campus. But for all commuter students, we have commuter student resources. So like, we have commuter lounges. We have one in Kimmel and one in Hayden, which is one of our residence halls. Commuters have access to commuter assistants who serve sort of the same sort of purposes as a resident assistant, but for off-campus students. So they feel like they're still connected and they still have all of those resources and opportunities. We host a ton of commuter student events. So like if you're living off campus, we still have plenty of opportunities for you to hang out with your fellow NYU student. Commuters can actually rent lockers, which is super helpful, so you don't have to carry your books around all the time. So yeah, it's a different experience, but only in that sense. You're still very much a part of the larger NYU community.
And I would just add, because commuter student services and off-campus living is actually ran out of the office I work at, and a lot of those resources are listed on the website as well. You'll get separate communications about the commuter overnight retreat, which is a pre-orientation event for commuter students. They try to have a lot of the events that are in the residence halls kind of parallel the events for commuter students. So like the commuter assistant program, commuter student council, a lot of students find their community within that. So I think it's really about getting out there. There's commuter events during Welcome Week. You can find community within commuter students within some of your schools. So yeah, you just have to put yourself out there, which I think is kind of a trend for NYU getting involved.
Yeah.
So we're gonna go back to talking a little bit more about international students, if any of you have any knowledge with work study. So can international students work on campus?
Yeah.
Yeah.
What do you want to do?
I actually don't know personally. I'm technically an international student, but I don't have American citizenship, but I have a green card. So I'm a legal resident. I can work here, and I have a work study position. But I do know that international students can get the work study position. So there are some kind of like scholarships that aren't available or there's some financial aid that's not available for international students, but work study is available for international students. Yes.
We work with a bunch of international students, so it's definitely a thing.
Become an admissions ambassador.
Yeah, that's our work study.
Definitely, yeah. International students can work on campus. Oh, lost some light. There, like I said, you'll get some information during the summer from our Office of Global Services. There's an orientation for international students during Welcome Week. So just look out for that, but definitely jobs are available.
Short answer is yes.
Yes. Does NYU have any resources specifically for first generation students or students of color on campus?
So yes, there are clubs and organizations that are definitely geared towards those communities. There are, I'm not sure the official name, but there are programs and clubs that are specific to students of color. There are also programs geared towards first generation students, first generation college students. I personally am not part of either of those clubs, but they are on campus. They go through the Center for Student Activities, Leadership, and Service on the 6th floor of Kimmel. They will also be at Club Fest. They will be setting up their booths then, and they will have their Welcome Week events as well. And they're part of like the diversity initiatives of NYU.
If you're interested in more diversity initiatives on campus in general, or you're looking for support in that area, we have the Center for Multicultural Education and Programs, which is on the 6th floor of Kimmel. So you can always, no, it's on the 8th floor. It's on the 8th floor of Kimmel, and you can always stop in there and speak to them. That's a good way to get connected with some of those clubs, as well as other events and programs that are run through there.
And because NYU is such a diverse university, like we mentioned, Club Fest is going to have a lot of booths set up, and there's one aisle that's specifically dedicated to cultural clubs on campus. So you could go to Club Fest and visit all of the different club booths there, and you'll get more information about that.
And Christine's president of the Filipino Club, so
Yeah.
I would also just say, highlighting this Center for Multicultural Education and Programs, CMAP, as well as any programs during Welcome Week. There's going to be some new programs coming out this fall that are specifically for students of color, some really great initiatives also for LGBTQ students, and a lot of the first generation college student programs happen directly within your academic school, so definitely look out for that. Every university has a few cons. What could they be for NYU as far as student life is concerned?
Cons of student life. I think it depends largely what kind of university experience you're looking for. I think that's a huge one. I mentioned Greek life earlier, which is a central part of NYU's kind of image, but is not the main attraction, I would say, on campus. So if you were looking for like the kind of big state school feel with like Greek life being the prominent social life, that's not really NYU's general kind of aesthetic, although it is a part of the social life on campus, if that makes sense. So we definitely pride ourselves on being a community of micro-communities, so we really kind of put equal weight on social groups that are based in the arts, that are based on varsity sports, that are based on Greek life, that are based on like residential life. But there's no one thing that kind of dominates, whereas at a lot of big state schools, for example, like the Greek life is the central thing on campus. So I would say that's kind of maybe a deciding factor in terms of like what's a con is if that was really the feeling that you want from your college experience and really be focused on Greek life, NYU isn't necessarily that kind of school, I would say.
And like we've been saying this whole time, it's really about putting yourself out there. I mean, there are hundreds of clubs to join and activities to be a part of and things to get involved in, but you have to go out and do that. It's not a small school where you're going to know every single student automatically and you're all going to do the same things all the time and you're going to be involved in every single thing. But I wouldn't really consider it a con that you have to be passionate about something and go out and chase it, really. But yeah, I mean, it's not, it's like not the entire student life experience isn't just going to fall into your lap.
Awesome. So back to study abroad. when studying abroad, should I change my cell phone plan to a local provider in the country where I will be studying?
Very pragmatic.
Yeah.
So that's actually that's huge. It really varies country by country, and also depends what phone plan you currently have. That was a big deal for me because I was abroad for a year. So I actually got a new plan, same phone, but got a new plan and a new SIM card when I was abroad, which was really like the best way to go for me. But I know that like some people have international plans. Like I know that T-Mobile has. Backtracking. I went abroad again in my J term this year as a study abroad for research on my thesis. So I went to Japan. And when I went to Japan, because I'm on T-Mobile, they have just released this new thing where like you can text internationally for free no matter which country you are in the world, and calls are like 10 cents a minute. So going abroad for that month made more sense for me to keep my plan, but going abroad for like 6 months or a year made more sense for me to change it. So it really depends where you're going, whether your current carrier allows you to have an international plan, and what those rates are. I would say the best way to do it is like find the leading 2 companies in the country you're going to, compare their rates to the leading 2 companies of like what you have here, and then just see what works best for you and your family.
Yeah, and whenever you're studying abroad, you're gonna have this little orientation session, like a mini orientation session, and they actually help you with finding out information about the cell phone plan. So you'll get that information, and usually everyone just goes as a group to the place, and they get bombarded with NYU students, and they get a lot of business that way. But they're very helpful.
Awesome. So another specific question. This comes from a student who's majoring in film production at Tisch. And is it possible to connect with a current student to get recommendations on which classes to take?
So I have taken a lot of classes in the film department. And,
So you're putting yourself out there.
It's me. Ask me. No. Well, the thing is, your first year in the film and TV program, you're almost entirely locked into the classes you're taking. So you're going to be taking, and you'll learn more about this at your school's orientation and when you're contacted over the summer to register for classes. But your first year, you're going to get 1 gen ed per semester that you get to choose, and maybe 1 other class that you can choose. So you don't have to worry about like, what 5 classes am I going to take? Someone help me. You're going to be all right. You're going to be fine. You do have someone who's going to contact you about registering for classes and walk you through exactly what classes to register for. But if you would like to speak to a current student, feel free to call the admissions hotline at 212-998-4500, and you can ask to be connected with a student ambassador like ourselves who's studying film, and they can probably put you in contact through our ambassador email, and you can kind of email back and forth with them, and they can give you more specific things. And that goes for anyone, obviously, not just the film program, but you can always ask to be connected to an ambassador who can speak more about your specific program. But in general, for whatever program you're in, if you're stressed about classes, just know that over the summer you will be contacted about registering.
And I would just also add the various social media sites. So using Facebook groups, a lot of upperclassmen are part of those. Obviously take their advice with a grain of salt, because you know each person has their own opinion on classes, but also the Meet 2020 or the Meet NYU, the Class of 2020 Facebook page. Any of the groups are great ways. Welcome Week, our Welcome Week captains are constantly looking at those pages. So feel free to post your questions, and you should get someone to respond to those. So I'm not sure if any of you all are involved with athletics, but what kind of athletics do you have on campus, and how do students get involved?
We have tons. Like, surprisingly, we have tons. My roommate specifically, she's on the golf team, so she's like varsity athletics. I know we have basketball, we have soccer, we even have like Quidditch. Joint Quidditch. As far as getting involved with varsity sports, it depends on each sport, because some people I know, like, they come in already in contact with the coach and they know that they're going to try out for the team. But also you could just stop by our athletic center and then walk onto the team and try out, because I know that's what my roommate did with golf. As far as if you don't want to do a varsity sport, we have tons of other opportunities such as intramurals. So intramurals, I know that we have basketball, we have volleyball, and I think they have bowling as well.
We have a
if I'm not
ton of
mistaken. We have
intramurals,
tons, yeah.
These are also, all of our sports and intramurals are listed on the athletics website through NYU, so it'll like list what our we're mainly Division III school, except I think fencing we're in Division II.
Division 1.
Division 1.
Yeah.
Sorry,
Yeah.
Division
Really
1.
good.
I know that like my freshman year roommates, both of them were on the swim team. One of them was recruited, one of them was not, but he did was a walk on as well. I seriously considered and then decided not to, but I seriously considered being part of the tennis team when my freshman year, and I went to the first day of tryouts and then couldn't do the time commitment afterwards. But there's definitely ways to get involved, and there's ways to find those communities. Once again, Club Festival will be huge.
Yes.
To list the different varsity sports that are available, and as well as the intramurals. There's squash that's intramural that's really popular. Ultimate Frisbee is huge. A couple of my best friends from freshman year are on the Ultimate Frisbee team. They really love it. So kind of anything that kind of fits your fancy, whether that's playing baseball, which is new as a new varsity sport, is the baseball team, to soccer, to Quidditch, to whatever interests you. There is that opportunity.
The hierarchy there is varsity sports and then club sports and then intramural sports. So varsity is obviously the biggest commitment, and it's their travel teams, so they'll be going mostly to the tri-state area to play. Club sports are still pretty intense. I know that the softball club practices 9 p.m. to midnight, so I was thinking of joining that, and then I saw that and I was like, no. And then intramural sports, you'll generally just meet once a week to play a game. And so that's the most low key if you're looking for a mix of athletics and a social thing to do.
Awesome. So the next question is about community service, which NYU has a lot of different service opportunities. One of which is going to be on the back of the Welcome Week postcard, Project Outreach, which is another pre-orientation program. But could you, if any of you have any advice on opportunities to get involved, either on or off campus with community service?
I think a huge one is to look at your residence hall. A lot of the RAs, the RAs in my building in Lafayette, definitely have a lot of community service initiatives. So we just actually had the Lafayette Day of Service, which was 2 weeks ago, where they went to an old folks home. They helped out around there. They also went and around Valentine's Day, they go to orphanages, things like that. There's definitely ways to get involved. Also, Greek Life is a huge way to get involved in community service. Pretty much all of them are community service focused groups, and that is in their mission of this is what we're trying to accomplish and what we would like to do. Once again, residence hall, look at your RAs, look at what programs are being offered. Every residence hall will have community service initiatives throughout the year, so no questions asked about that. And then I would also say if you're interested in specifically community-focused groups, Club Fest. I know we've been saying it a lot, but those groups will be at Club Fest because all of our clubs show up, including our service groups.
I would also highlight alternative breaks.
Yeah.
So NYU has a really great alternative breaks program, which either during January break or spring break, you can go with a group of students, either domestic or abroad, to a bunch of different sites to do service. So giving up part of your winter break or spring break to do service and travel with NYU students. I know I've staffed a bunch of those trips and they've been really awesome experiences. Also having an information session during Welcome Week, so look out for that. So the next one is kind of a fun question. What is your favorite celebrity sighting in New York?
Oh my gosh.
I had Josh Hutcherson in my office last week, so that was pretty huge. I see Anderson Cooper on the regular.
He goes to Fresh and Go.
Yeah.
He goes to this one cafe right near us.
God, what's the name of the actress? I'm totally blanking. She was in Mrs. Doubtfire. She's the mom.
Sally Fields.
Oh,
Sally
so
Fields.
Sally
Sally
Fields.
Fields once stole my cab from me.
Oh.
And I was waiting on the corner, and she came in and just got in as I was waiting for it. And then I was like, oh, who's this woman? And she turns out Sally Fields. She's youngsters, and then drove off. So that was a personal moment.
I love that.
But it's okay. She's cool. We're good.
No.
It's kind of like a rite of passage as a New Yorker that you're gonna see Alec Baldwin a million times. Your first semester mostly. He walks his dogs late at night. So if you haven't seen him by the end of your first year, it's do you really go to
You walk on university.
Yeah. So that's always a big one.
And then whenever you see a celebrity, you're kind of just very casual, but you're freaking out on the inside. Especially if it's a celebrity who goes to our school, then you're kind of okay, I'm going to play it cool.
Oh, yeah. I had a class with Dylan Sprouse once, and I was like, this is totally fine. Every day after class, I'd be like, guys, guess what?
There's also NYU brings a lot of celebrities, which is really cool. I think a big perk of being in New York City they're, I guess, more available. So
Yeah. There was a day this week where we had Justin Trudeau and Alana Glazer.
Yeah.
Like we had the
Yeah.
Prime Minister and Alana Glazer
Yeah.
on the
Right,
same day on
right.
campus. It's like the greatest day of my life.
DJ
Yeah.
Khaled was
Yeah,
Yeah,
same
DJ
day,
Khaled.
same day.
Same day. It was a crazy day. It was a crazy day in New York. And then again, it's like every day in New York.
Yeah.
In many ways.
Kind of another fun question. Is everyone at NYU as warm as you guys?
Oh!
Well, first of all, thank you.
Yeah.
When I was reading this, I thought it was like, how do you stay warm? So,
Well, you wear a lot
Well,
of coats during the winter.
the short answer is no, it's just us. No, everybody, honestly, like every place you go in the world, there are people who are warm and there are people who are not so warm. But the people who are going to be warm to you are going to be the people who have similar interests, shared interests. So getting involved in any way that you see fit and having those interests with others is like the best way to meet people like us.
The ambassadors, especially, it's like 150 people who just won't stop smiling at you,
Yeah.
like giving you compliments and telling you how awesome you are.
Yeah,
And
they're
the
awesome.
Welcome Week captain is like the
Welcome
12
Week
of us just love
captains, yeah.
everyone so much.
And your 400 leaders.
Yeah, and we love the 400 leads. And we love all the incoming first years and transfer students too.
Look at you guys.
That's you.
all right, a couple more questions. Is there anything you wish you had known before moving to New York?
How to budget properly.
Yeah,
I wish
Yes,
I'd known that.
that's a good
absolutely.
one.
Yeah.
Which,
Workshops during welcome.
I was gonna say, which
Small wallet, big city.
Yes.
That's the workshop title.
I think something that I would have really liked to know is how to actually get out of the city. Like, it's so fun to be here, and it's so like there's so much to do, and it's so attractive to be in New York, and like there's cultural things to do, and there's like your friends are here, and you're studying, and then after a while you realize like you've been like in the city for so long that you actually haven't gone out to like walk in nature for like
Yeah.
months, and so I think coming here with like a mindset of like I'm gonna give myself every like 3 months like a weekend to get away and just like go out to the mountains or like to the beach or like whatever. That's something I wish I had taken more to heart my first 2 years, because I think that really not only gives you a breath of fresh air, but also lets you like reevaluate and like really put back into focus how lucky you are to be in the city once you come back.
And it's so easy to do. I mean,
It's really
I
nice.
lived here for 10 years and just
Yeah.
found out this summer that there's like a bus from my house in Brooklyn to a beach that takes like 15 minutes. And I was
Yeah.
like, wow.
My friends recently started going up to the mountains, to upstate, like every couple weeks, and they just like take a bus up to the mountains and go hiking all weekend. It's crazy.
Yeah.
It's awesome.
Any other advice?
I think not to take home for granted.
Mm.
Because when I came here, I was like, wow, the city's so great. I never want to go home. And then you kind of like miss the fact that you have home cooked meals when you're back. You have your whole family. You have like your friends from high school that you, or like friends that you grew up with. So not to forget about that because I love going home now.
Awesome. So another question about international students, which I can talk a little bit about this because there are going to be some new resources. So the question is, are there resources available specifically for international students to settle in for things like cell phone plans, bank accounts, and such? And the first thing that's coming to mind for me is there is going to be a new international student orientation as part of Welcome Week. So that'll be happening during Welcome Week, and you'll definitely hear a lot more about it. There's a lot of information sessions on banking and cell phones that happen during that week. But if you are curious or interested in learning more about that before you arrive, I would definitely suggest the same things, the various social media platforms, talking to the Student Resource Center, talking to the Office of Global Services.
Yeah.
I don't know if you all have anything else.
Those sound like
Yeah,
the
Sound
best
like the things to
resources.
do.
Yeah. There's also some awesome resources that are on the website. There's a link to it on the Next Stop page, as well as specifically if you just search on the NYU website, Office of Global Services, there's a resource tab which you can find out all about cell phones, banking, etc. Awesome. What advice, I know we sort of talked about this, but what advice do you all have for new students?
Put yourself out there. I think that's the biggest one. I actually, the way I found community was about taking my own initiative. So like Welcome Week, it's very easy to kind of like go with like your roommates, which is totally fine because you might have like similar interests, but also taking that time for yourself to be like, I'm going to go do a program I want to do, not just because everybody else is going to this like thing. And that's how I wandered into Club Fest alone and then like discovered like the a cappella community. So like I wouldn't have known if I hadn't gone myself to like go to Club Fest. So like not being afraid to really take the initiative and be like, I'm gonna go check this out, even if it's like something you never do again. Like I don't know if it's like a pottery class, like whatever it could, you know, those are fine. They're not my thing, but like totally fine for anybody who wants to do them. But that experience of going to something that you may not be familiar with might open up a whole new avenue of like interests for you.
I would say along the same lines, kind of be open. If there's something that you do want to try and you're like, no, I would never do that. That's silly. Like I didn't think I would want to be an admissions ambassador because I'm not like a super perky kind of person. And I was like, you know what, I'm interested in that. And I put myself out there and applied for it. And I was like, okay, this is actually great. And doing things like that made me learn a lot about myself. So don't come in being like, this is who I am and this is what I'm going to do in college, because you're going to learn so much about yourself. That's a huge part of it. You're not just learning a lot about the world and about your classes. You're going to learn so much about who you are as a person, and it's an invaluable opportunity.
I would say, as I've said a few times, take advantage of Welcome Week.
Yes.
It's over 500 programs. We do usually 2 or 3 big events every night, anything from comedy shows, drag bingo, a big dance at the end of the week, which has tons of giveaways, to smaller walking tours of different neighborhoods, workshops on getting involved. It's really one week designed specifically for you. Everything's free, and it's just a really great opportunity to meet people, step outside of your comfort zone, get involved.
My advice is just to be comfortable with the fact that you're going to have good days, you're going to have bad days. But I think like the wonderful part of like the college experience, especially your first year, is the fact that every day is going to be a new experience. Even if you have like this set class schedule, you're going to have like new experiences every day. So like, as Olivia said, just be open to it and willing.
Awesome. So the next question comes, I think, from a parent, maybe a student of a parent. But in the previous Welcome Week videos, someone saw parents. So are parents allowed or welcome at Welcome Week events? Can or should they join?
I don't know the logistics. I think the only issue really, I mean, I'm sure the events are fine for parents to go to. I don't think that's an issue. The issue might be more like, because you will not, as a parent, have an NYU ID, and you may not have identification that proves that you are part of the NYU community, that you may not be able to access the buildings in which the events are held. So security is a huge thing for NYU, and we really, because we're in the city, we really take like who comes in and out of our buildings really like strictly and seriously. So unless you are pre-signed by an NYU member, you, as a parent, you may not be able to access those buildings. In terms of the programs themselves and the events themselves, I don't think those are a problem. That is something that you would have to, I think, like double check with like public safety.
Where is that?
Yeah. No. I mean, do you all have? I mean,
you're
totally fine.
I was just
say
being cautious.
the general. So the videos you might have seen were probably from Move-In, which on the Sunday of Welcome Week, which is the first day, we do a lot of different things for parents. We have a parents orientation, which you'll learn more about in the summer. We do a big resource fair for parents and students. Students get a free t-shirt and pick up their student ID, and there's lunch for parents. But also some schools do parent orientation. So depending on your school, there might be a variety of programs. But during the Welcome Week, the actual week of programming, they are generally just for students. It's a chance that we give to students to kind of step outside of their comfort zone. But our office, the Student Resource Center, also hosts a number of parent resources. We have a parents helpline, we have a parents newsletter, and we host Parents Day. So we definitely welcome you back, parents, to come in October, and then your students can kind of show you what their NYU experience is. But if you saw parents in videos, it was probably from our move-in day, our kickoff, but we definitely encourage Welcome Week just for incoming students. And a lot of it has to do with space. New York is hard to find space. We have hundreds of students coming to events, so to have parents at them is pretty tough.
And you don't really want to bring your parents to like drag bingo.
They
don't want that. You don't want that.
I might not want that.
Yeah.
Awesome. So it seems like we're at the end of our questions, but we did want to give you a couple of resources to kind of wrap this up. So if you do have any other questions throughout, you can definitely email ask.src@nyu.edu, or you're welcome to call the Welcome Center at 212 998-4500. Like I said, throughout this, you will be receiving a lot of information over the next few months, either through the Welcome Week social media, the Class of 2020 social media, and also through Next Stop NYU. So there's an awesome checklist of all the things you need to know before you get here. It is helpful resources for different communities on campus, but also just important deadlines when you need to get your application in for housing, everything. So definitely check out that website. Like I said, www.nyu.edu/nextstop. And there's a lot of helpful resources on there, both for students and parents. We are ending this Google Hangout. So thank you all for joining us for all of the Google Hangouts, and look forward to seeing you in the fall.
Bye.
Bye.